Sudan was one of the first, in fact, the first country to recognize Sudan under those Abraham Accords. And those countries that are involved in supporting one way or another the warring parties in Sudan are all good friends of the United States and key allies for the United States. But they are on different sides when it comes to Sudan. So I think that has cut through to President Trump as well, that his grand Middle East strategy for eternal peace in the Middle East isn't going to be achieved if there are such divisions between the major Arab powers, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Egypt in this case.
At the beginning of the year, the Times sent its special correspondent, Anthony Lloyd, to Sudan to report on what we called the Forgotten War, a civil war. Even by that point, had been raging for almost 2 years between two rival factions of the country's military government. Fighting erupted in April 2023 because of a power struggle between two generals who had previously collaborated in a military coup that led to the removal and eventual resignation of Sudan's civilian Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok. Those generals are Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, head of the Sudanese armed forces and the country's de facto ruler, and General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, known as Hemeti, who leads the powerful paramilitary group, the Rapid Support Forces. Now, by any measure, it's been a devastating conflict. It's created a humanitarian crisis of epic proportions in the western Darfur region of Sudan. General Dagalo's RSF and allied militias have been accused of war crimes that include ethnic cleansing and genocide. Its capture just a few weeks ago of El Fasher in North Darfur led to mass killings of civilians and displacement of almost 90,000 people from the city. The total death toll of the war so far has been suggested to be as high as 400,000, with more than 4 million displaced Sudanese overwhelming refugee camps in neighbouring countries. Well, I'm joined now by Sir Nicholas Kay, a former UK ambassador to Sudan, to discuss the crisis. Sir Nicholas, Afghanistan, Somalia, the DRC, your work as a diplomat has taken you to some of the world's poorest and most violent places. What have you been hearing and reading about in Sudan over the past couple of years, and how does it compare to the things you've seen over the course of your career?
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for continuing to draw attention to Sudan, whether it's a forgotten war or an ignored war, deliberately ignored. It's difficult to say, but it certainly merits far more attention than it's been having. You say, how does it compare to other places? I was ambassador in Afghanistan, and the degree of attention and resources given to Afghanistan during our 20 years engagement there was massive compared to, for example, what we're doing in Sudan, Democratic Republic of Congo, again, a long-suffering and difficult country. It's invidious to compare and contrast, really, but Sudan at the moment is absolutely the world's largest humanitarian crisis. The numbers you quoted for displaced people, I don't think is exactly right. 4 million maybe refugees in neighboring countries, but I think 8 million displaced internally within Sudan. So more or less 12 million people out of their homes as a result of the conflict and the consequent famine that has followed in some places in Sudan.
Well, thank you for putting that into even clearer perspective, Sir Nicholas. Can you explain to our listeners exactly what's at the heart of the conflicts between the two leaders of the Sudanese armed forces and the Rapid Support Forces, General al-Burhan and General Dagalo? Is it an out-and-out power struggle? Is it ethnic tension? Is it a combination of the both as well as other factors?
There are a lot of factors involved, but it is essentially a power struggle. Both men wish to control all of Sudan's resources and wealth, and it does have that. And so this is fueled, if you like, by the fact that Sudan has resources such as gold, it has agricultural resources, and it has some oil as well. I mean, our image of Sudan is a very poor country, and indeed it is, because it's been poorly and badly run over decades, so that the wealth that it has not been properly distributed and shared. but it does have wealth and resources. So they attract the interest of these two gentlemen, I'm sure, but also they attract the attention of outside powers. And this is a very important factor in the conflict, that both sides are receiving support, political and military supplies from outside countries. And as long as they receive that support, I fear the war will continue.
Well, on that point, numerous international mediation efforts have failed to secure a ceasefire, but President Trump has, as we know, shown an interest in conflict resolution. It took him a long time to warm up to the idea of some sort of intervention in Sudan, which he seemed initially to prefer to regard as a bit of a scrap rather than anything genocidal, as has been alleged. Why is that? And what, other than his hope for a Nobel Prize, has prompted him to change to the point that he's promising action?
You're absolutely right. It hasn't been on his agenda, and he admitted that himself, not really on his radar screen. But that did seem to change by the impact of the last important person that he spoke to, Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia. And how this has now got through to him, I think is probably reflecting his genuine interest in being a peacemaker and having that mantle to boast of, but also his interest in the Middle East in general. I mean, the Abraham Accords, as we know, is trying to sort of normalize relations between Israel and the Arab world. Well, Sudan was one of the first, in fact, the first country to recognize Sudan under those Abraham Accords. And those countries that are involved in supporting one way or another the warring parties in Sudan are all good friends of the United States and key allies for the United States. But they are on different sides when it comes to Sudan. So I think that has cut through to President Trump as well, that his grand Middle East strategy for eternal peace in the Middle East isn't going to be achieved if there are such divisions between the major Arab powers, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Egypt in this case.
Yeah. Just want to switch to another subject now, if I may. Sir Nicholas, you were also ambassador to Afghanistan, of course. An inquiry has been told by a former high-ranking officer that two former heads of all UK special forces suppressed evidence of possible war crimes against civilians in the country by SAS forces. What's your reaction to the reports that we've been hearing today?
Well, I think it's very important that this public inquiry is bringing out all the facts surrounding this very murky and apparently dishonorable episode. So we'll have to wait, obviously, to see the final results of the public inquiry. But it is, absolutely right. In order to do justice to those thousands of British servicemen and women who have passed through and worked hard in Afghanistan over the years and done it honorably and decently and in the proper way. And it's very important even for the special forces as well, who do a great job in many places, in many very difficult circumstances. I'm sure everybody really needs to get this clear and out in the open. And if bad things and wrong things have happened, then, the light needs to be shone on them.
Right. Sir Nicholas Kay, former UK ambassador to Sudan and Afghanistan, thank you very much for your time.